Welcome to Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the re-release of the Mazda RX-7 in 1/24 scale by Revell. Formerly a monogram kit, it's now number 85-4429 in the current catalog. Revell rates it a skill level 4, and it requires paint and glue for assembly. You get 94 parts molded in white, chrome, and clear, with vinyl tires and water slide decals. The instructions are well laid out in a typical book format, and it gives you two options of building, either a stock car or a race version. The engine is fairly detailed, and both race and stock options are there. The chassis is simple but well defined, and the interior tub is sparse on details and moldings, but they're very thin door panels. However, it looks pretty good when done, and the dash looks really nice. The body's pretty detailed as well and well proportioned. When you're done, it's about 7 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 2 inches high. Here are the contents of this kit. Some people would call this an open box review, and they try to pick it up and describe the parts and sprues, and that won't help you put the model together, though, will it? So we're going to do that, and know that we'll be using Model Master's liquid cement, super glue for strength, and sometimes white or clear glue for class parts. Now, please remember to follow all the manufacturer's suggestions for safety when using any of the products you see or hear here in the review for your own safety. The first thing that you'll have to do is look over the kit and the instructions to determine which parts you'll need to use to build either the stock or the race version. Construction starts with the motor. Assemble the block, front, and oil filter tube, and paint that aluminum. The exhaust is steel. The belt is rubber colored with a black pulley. The fan is white, and the oil filter is black. The distributor is black. Now assemble and paint the race intake and paint that steel, and attach all the painted parts into their locations on the motor. Now install the front suspension, interior tub, and transmission mount. The overall underside is flat black in color, and the frame is semi-gloss black. The interior is flat black. And do some detail painting on the gas tank, shield, and fuel lines, as you see the need with various shades of steel and silver to help highlight the bottom of the model. Remember to scrape any of the paint or chrome plating off of any of the parts that you're going to glue together for a good bond. And now it's time to mount the engine into place on the motor mounts on the chassis. Paint the rear suspension semi-gloss black. The exhaust is steel with aluminum mufflers, and the radiator is assembled with the shroud and painted flat black with a rubber hose. Now install the exhaust first and add the rear axle, then the sway bar, and then the shocks. Add the radiator and the hose to the front of the chassis and to the motor. Note that there are race car and stock car seats, so paint the seats, dash, the wheel armrests, shifter, and brake semi-gloss black. And then the roll bar is flat black. Now install the seats, the armrests, the brake, the shifter, and the roll bar, and add the decals and paint the spokes silver in the steering wheel. Then install the dash. We can begin to prep the body now, as it's one piece with the hood and front lower valance, and the bumper is separate for the stock version. So if you're building the race version, you'll need to add all of the fender flares and the spoilers there prior to painting. In most cases, you can use a small amount of glue and then use a little putty to smooth the joints there. And then once you're done with that, go over the entire body, removing any blemishes or parting lines that you find with some fine sandpaper. Once you've got all the blemishes and flash removed and sanded smoothly, it's time to go ahead and prime the whole body and prepare it for paint. So spray it inside and out with a good coat of primer. As it so often happens, I had gotten some damage here to the primer from the paint, and so I went ahead and used a product from Citadel called Liquid Green Stuff and coated the roof and filled in the damage, and then wet sanded the area, reprimed it, and repaired it, and ready then to move to the paint stage. I custom mixed some yellows to come up with this banana yellow for my race car version of the RX-7, and once I painted it, I let the paint cure to move on to the decals. Some of the decals, like the stripes there, are pretty large for this kit, and they go over contours, so I strongly recommend that you use some of the products in the aftermarket for setting solutions to help them conform to the contours of the body and stick to it very well. So go ahead and start with the largest ones and place those into position. And remember that you need a gloss coat, so make sure that your paint had a gloss coat prior to trying to apply the decals. Install the windshield. It had a decal on it too, so after that's dry, use some white glue or some of the crystal clear type of glues to install the windshield into place. Now we can add the body, and it fits pretty tightly over the interior and the chassis, and no glue is needed once you've spread the sides out a little bit and snapped it into place. Just place it directly over the tub and slide it down into place in position. Slide the front valance into place under the bumper, gluing that into position on the body. Install the brake booster and paint it black and steel, and then install it into the engine bay. To give the tires a used look and add some realism, I pressed and rolled the tread on a sheet of fine sandpaper, about 220 grit. So use the proper rims in the rear backs for the rear wheels, and then there's different backs for both race and stock rims, so make sure you pick those out properly. And I painted the rims flat black and the backings flat black as well. Now install a rim and a backing to each tire with the hub in place. Now pick out the parts and slide a tire onto each of the axle pins at the front and the rear. And just put glue on the ends so that the tires will rotate around the hubs. At this point we have a rolling chassis and a nearly completed build, so we'll just be finishing that up here shortly. So grab these parts and paint the lenses on the taillights clear red, clear orange, and white as the box art and the demo here suggests, and then the outer trim on the rear glass is black. I used a black Sharpie to fill in the demarked area on the inside of the glass. Then we're going to add license plates, and I decided to make a custom license plate using my own logo. I just printed it out with a color inkjet printer, sized it up first of course, and then used some Scotch tape to cover both front and back, and glued it into position later on the back of the car. And now you can install the rear glass, the license tag, and the taillights to complete the model. Because this is a 2-in-1 kit with two different versions, you'll have some parts left to put into your parts bin for future builds. Well, there you have it. This is a pretty easy build. The parts fit and finish was good, and the overall assembly was nice with positive location points for gluing. I have no complaints with the actual buildability of this kit. The one issue I did have was that I used some Krylon Crystal Clear to clear coat the body, and it attacks some of the decals. While it actually kind of looks like a nice faded striping job on my race car, you should just know that I did have a reaction and some issues with the combination of the decals and the Krylon Crystal Clear. So you might want to try a different clear for this particular model, maybe just based on the decals that they're using. But overall, it's a great reissue, and the build went without a hitch. If I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. I hope you enjoyed this premium step-by-step model kit review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, but you can always find us on Facebook and at our website, rideonreplicas.com. Thanks!